Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another conversation around defense, Rashtriya Suraksha or national security and what's happening around us with the person who's always there on the other side answering those questions that we pose to him, Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, former GOC 15 Corps. General Pandey, Namaste, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Bharat, sir. My first question to you, and as we are recording this, we have the President do her first sortie in a Rafale. And this is around the time when we are going to do a massive tri-services exercise in the Arabian Sea. In दोनों के मायने क्या है? Is there more to it than meets the eye?
Yeah, okay. So what happens is that today in the social media domain, where media is driving agenda today, not, media used to be used to drive an agenda, but today I think media is driving. There are a number of significance, I think. I think you must have heard this news that the three-tail numbers Pakistanis were talking as participating as flown and been shown in the media. So I think
that entire fleet was there, squadron was there in the hangar, and the tail numbers were visible. Yeah.
So there are a couple of the good part is that while we are trying to strive through a cognitive warfare, which is the sixth domain of war fighting and very important in today's environment, you may win a war, but you may still lose a narrative, and it is all about narrative. You may lose, but what people believe is more important. So I think these couple of actions being taken, very calibrated manner by the government is signaling, right? So President flying in Rafale, going to the same very squadron, which was very important. That squadron is very close to me, by the way, because I was the Colonel Regiment of Sikhalai, and Golden Arrows is very closely affiliated to me, and I've been there a couple of times. Fantastic. They are top of the rack officers who are there, and I got a large number of pictures. They have given me a gift of a memento which is there in my home. But to come to this point that the President flying, in the sequence of events of exposure and talking and about Rafale, has got international messaging to Pakistan against the disinformation and misinformation campaign. And I think it's a very subtle political messaging as well internally to inform the political parties who have been campaigning on this facet कि दुश्मन का क्या हुआ उससे मुझे मतलब नहीं. I don't want to know what you did to the enemy. You may have destroyed them, but we want to know that what you lost. I think that's some silly part. I think this is a very important message which is happening. The second is when you club with, again, Trishul exercise which is happening, where it is happening. Please look back in last month and a half what has happened. Raksha Mantri went there and he said the shortest way to Karachi, right? You recall we did a session on this.
Via Sir Creek.
Sir Creek. There were about 4 to 5 additional battalions which have been raised, and Pakistan is building up a great infrastructure into Sir Creek area. And then the chief went in, then the Air Force chief had gone towards this side. So there are a number of movements which are taking place towards this area, towards where this entire NOTAM has been declared by us and by the enemy. So, frankly, do you think we are going to go for Op Sindoor 2.0 through a conventional environment? I don't think so, right? Let's be realistic. But these messaging are very important as this actually pushes the Pakistani establishment to a little bit big corner, right? Which is a tight corner today for them. And is also telling the world around that there is a mindset which is going still in Pakistani establishment that we will continue to do something silly. You heard this statement that there is a woman wing of Jaish-e-Mohammed which is going to be created. We are going to strike back and stuff like that. So this messaging is also, I think the government is quite fixed on 2047, Viksit Bharat, and they don't want to have trouble. So this is very important to show this muscular part that you do something silly to get us off the rack from that Viksit Bharat. We are going to come with the Surkshit Bharat to hit you on to somewhere else. So I think these are a couple of things which is happening quite, it is harmonized. It is not happening in a random manner. Of course, tri-service exercises have been happening regularly every alternate years. But this time around, it is also very important that large number of technological assets-driven weapon platforms have been put across, right? So I'm sure there must be gaps. A professional army needs to continue to evolve to bridge those gaps, right? I think this entire orientation towards this tri-service exercise is to harmonize, synergize, integrate, continue with the jointmanship part, that the next round corner, when something silly happens from north or from the west, we should be able to play this thing. Plus,
Okay.
just a little bit more, that when you go into a contest of 4 days, there are emissions which happen.
Yeah.
Enemy is also smart. And in our case, the enemy is not Pakistan armed forces. Unfortunately, there are people who want to test their equipment, want to know what are the glitches, gaps, which they can, the fault lines between our armed forces, which they can actually come inside and thereafter rip it open. It is also very important for us to see what could have gone, what lessons the Chinese equipment and the leadership which is fielding that equipment, the Americans who are watching what's happening. So what has been exposed, what are this thing? I am just loud thinking.
Thinking
That is
loud.
how a professional organization will work. And I'm quite sure our armed forces are working to do all this.
So there is a lot of wargaming that will happen. The enemy does it. Those who are watching us, they do it. We will do it just to ensure that we plug the gaps. But if you look at the signaling, you had the army chief say this time it's geographical. तुम्हारा geography बदल देंगे. You will not know. Raksha Mantri says a nation has to be primed for war. Are we anticipating something that could happen, especially given what's happening in the AFPAC region?
Yeah.
Do you see us getting dragged there, or are we going to just make sure that there is no counter thing here to try and diffuse what's happening there? How do you read that? And are we interested in getting a toehold in Bagram?
So you asked a number of questions which are actually quite linked. But let me just start back up a little bit. Very strangely, even this government, when it came in 2014, their focus, while we may talk of this focus of this government on defense, it was not so in the first 1.0 Modi, right? They were quite fixated in economic development. There's a perception that maybe economics will drive and diplomacy will subdue military misadventures by anybody. The good part is that for them, 2016 happened just 2 days, 2 months, 2 years down the lane. They thought that surgical strike will change the tenor, right? But you see, Pakistan can't be tamed and changed. More importantly, more than Pakistan, the Chinese cannot be managed. The people who excite Pakistanis are not Pakistanis themselves, but also there are other international geopolitical situations which allow that thing to happen. So this, when 2019 Balakot happened, that Pulwama happened, I think that is time the real focus of Modi government start looking at defense as a very, very important instrument, right? Because Viksit Bharat cannot on one pillar is a struggling pillar. You require a certain degree of this independence. More so when COVID happened, your supply chains getting disrupted. Then Doklam happened, Galwan happened. You realize that unless truly indigenization doesn't become Atmanirbhar, make in India to make for India was an imperative, right? And if you see the focus of the government pushing us, right, while we always wanted to do it, but then there is a bureaucracy, which doesn't allow it to happen so easily. Now the state, the government, the bureaucracy also struggling to catch. The Indian armed forces have actually started moving towards ensuring that they shore up this thing. And this also leads into the troubled wars which are happening. Armenia, Azerbaijan happened. People thought they'll go away in no time. You suddenly saw Ukraine-Russian war spanning out for 3.5 years. You saw Israel, Hamas. So there's a realization that there is no country in the world or an international organization in the world today which can stop war or which can go out and reach out to the two countries to say that let's go on to the path of peace. And then there are countries or organizations which are now exciting people to continue on the path of.
What?
They may come out and seek Nobel Prize, right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, you see what things are happening and how they are being encouraged all over the world. There is a certain degree of excitement because it plays into the requirement of a larger military-industrial complex which is there for long. If there are no wars, there are no trouble spots. How is their relevance and survival going to be at stake? So it is always important to destroy. So destruction gets you money, the reconstruction gets you far better money. So both things are required. And this has been realized by Modi 3.0, which is now actually looking at very, very sharply on this. So therefore, there is a fear which will happen. And the problem is, don't think that it's going to happen only in due to Afghanistan. There is another animal which has started now rearing its head, which is on towards our east. And you look at the statements of Asim Munir and the visits which are going towards our eastern side.
Bangladesh,
yeah, so that hedge is coming up, right? And nearly about 2 years back or 3 years back, or at least on your channel about a couple of months back before Yunus had come, I had made this mention that don't start looking at 2.5. It is a full-fledged 3-front which is going to happen.
3-front which is going to happen.
Remember, we had a conversation on your channel only. Yunus has not yet come. So, right, you see, this is going to be a trouble for us. And therefore, it is not only on the western side we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared all around for what will be put out of the bag to ensure that our rise of our Bharat, right, which is coming up, is not frictionless. Friction will be applied. You will be put behind. Nobody wants the brown man or an Asian, Asian by means I think Chinese and this thing, to rise to be equal partners in life. It is a very, very skewed world, geopolitical world.
Very colored, if I may say
colored.
so. But in this case, let's try and look at this. Do you then feel that we lack not just, we are trying to build military capability and we are sending out the signals, but do we lack in military diplomacy? See,
yes.
Look at the Aini Air Base in Tajikistan. How strategically important it would have been during Operation Sindoor. We couldn't use it. It's a base which was there for 25 years. The Russians, the Chinese were making their moves on it. We didn't protect it. Do we lack there? Again, Bagram. Why is it that the Afghans who came here, the Taliban who came here, did not openly tell us, you come and take care and maintain it for us and we trust you? And why didn't India move in at that time? Even with Chittagong and even with the Bangladesh region, in that region, why didn't we read the signs and say, let's move in before they try and do something? Now the Pakistani ISI is setting up a cell in Mohammad Yunus's office and they're embedding themselves there. So are we just watching? What are we doing?
You have put in a very loaded one, and I thought you will be coming up with some Sanskritized version of your ideation to guide us, right?
No, it's there in the scriptures, what we are supposed to do.
The thing is that we are trying to be good people. Vasudeva Kutumbakam is somewhere being drilled into our mind, and when Prime Minister has to say, he has to make a statement for the world. But somewhere our own policy makers, our bureaucracy, our armed forces start looking at the Chanakyan Niti, which is so explicit. It guides the state how to go about Sam, Dam, Dan, Bhed, how to exploit. If you know that the policy of your neighbor's neighbor has to be your friend, why have we not been able to protect our own neighborhood? Is a question I think we must ask very, very critically. Firstly, I think our diplomatic corps may be outstanding, excellent, but it is very, very small population to manage. A huge amount of complex situation. And there are people out there, let's say, there are professionals in the business. They can be politicians, they can be military officers.
I very specifically use the word military diplomacy because you need people who understand military or the art of war along with the art of tact and the art of diplomacy.
See, I'll give you an example, like Nepal and Bangladesh, right? In spite of what happened during the recent Gen Z protest in Nepal and what's happening in Bangladesh, there is a communication channel which is available through the military channel. We don't, the our government, our civilian bureaucracy is so fearful of the military, which brings on table immense amount of capabilities. Right. I was somewhere about in 2008 to 2011. I was a director of foreign division. The moment they saw you, because our officers are extremely capable officers. They read. They had to compete for every rank and structure which is there. The papers they write, our people, our DAs who are abroad, the kind of performance they give to the ambassadors and high commissioner, you ask anyone, they swear by them, right? But then they are not exploited to the fullest of the capabilities. There's a issue happened in Afghanistan. We're talking of Afghans. They were required to be trained in our. They came out, for training. Somewhere around this late 2008.
Mullah Umar openly admits, he accepts that he is trained here. He's come here and he's trained here. Some of the others also, they've come.
So, there was so much of resistance to allow them to come and train in our this thing, and not from them, from our own establishment. You don't understand that when you train thousands of officers, right, from all over the world, what does America do? America sends for free. They train people from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from Bangladesh, from Central Asian Republic, from South America. Everybody comes from multiple courses there. So what is happening? You're establishing a bridge. Out of 100 officers, you may not be able to establish with 99. But that one officer which you establish a bridge, the familiar bridge, the family is there, they are understanding what is happening in the environment. There is if I'm allowed to keep in touch today with hundreds of officers who I've trained along with in the US or over a period of time, there's a bridge which is happening, and everybody has got a very fond memory of Bharat. All of them. Right?
So you can lean on them in times of strife and, help them to work,
Most of the countries, including America, by the way, has got military leadership somewhere plugged into the political and the civilian bureaucracy. So they advise policy, they guide certain degree of influence. We need to invest. We are not investing neither here nor outside. It has to open up. What has China done? Chinese opened up a National Defense University. They just simply copied the American system. They ran a special course for nearly about 100 odd officers for about 2 to 3 months, and they called a big name and all, and they were educated, trained, made to see the area around, and thereafter these people become ambassadors. It takes time, not more than 4 to 5 years, to see the fructification of engagement. Military diplomacy has got immense value by just sending a ship, right, to a port. Itself is a major signaling, right? But that's today's world very, very small. You require people who have been educated with us. You require our people who have been educated and established certain degree of connect. You require professionals, and there are a large number. From colonel onwards, Indian armed forces, the three services, produce people who are high caliber, who can be just simply plugged in and put across into different areas, which is happening, but it aren't happening enough.
It's just gone like a blur. That Aini air base, which would have given a strategic overwatch over the Taklamakan corridor into that entire region, and then also over Skardu, because the Chinese are getting in there. It would have given us cover fire during Operation Sindoor. We've let that go.
We built it.
We built it,
Okay, by the way, in 2011, it was again going, right? And General VK was, I traveled with General VK that time. He was very, very quickly just summed up and said, it is likely to go. The lease had not expired. Because look, how strange is it that I remember we went to Tajikistan, and I went to a couple of other countries as well. Most of them said, there's a word which somebody had, we promise and then don't deliver, So they said, you promised XYZ, you not delivered. Eventually, General VK, when he came back and he spoke and he had that influence, he was able to get all those things, including establishment of a hospital and all done, so that lease did not finish earlier and thereafter it continued.
It's about how much we engage with these nations and how often. See, I'll tell you what, Abdullah Saleh is a Tajik. right? But he went to Tajikistan from Afghanistan. Now, did we engage? Have we engaged with him to try and ensure that there is a certain Tajik influence here? Azerbaijan moved away from us because there is a Chinese overbearing there, overhang. The Chinese are very focused. They want to drive a thing in that 100-kilometer wide corridor plateau between the two plateaus that connect Xinjiang and Afghanistan. They want that corridor and they want to own it. So if they'll have taken control of Skardu on one side, Aini on the other. Now, I'm not a defense expert, sir. I'm not a geopolitical expert, but I can look at the map and I can see what the Shatru is doing, what they are doing. Now, what are we doing? Is that an unfair question to ask?
Absolutely. So
now,
this
look
is
at the
where
Americans. They want Pasni, they want Saint Martin. And why? Strait of Hormuz, Malacca Straits. They want to control it. What are we doing? And how soon are we going to do? And how are we engaging with these countries to ensure that they stay within our pala, hamare pala mein rahe?
So, you can be the fourth economy. You can be the fourth military. But if you don't have these visions, these tools in your kitty to be able to take out cards, when you require. And you have to invest in these cards. It's like going to the stock market. You have to have a bouquet of, I'm not a stock market, I don't deal into share, but when you study, you require to have these hedges at every place. The hedge today may not deliver. Yunus had been invested for last 30 years.
Correct.
Right. But when the time came that Saint Martin was asked from Hasina and she didn't give, that card was taken out, an entire shift was done. Do you think it happens overnight? You require, Op Sindoor happened. Series of articles started coming in Washington Post and New York Times. You require journalists to be invested upon. It takes money. It is something like even military armed forces don't have to fight wars every day. But you have to have a evolving machine which is always ready for what is going to happen the next corner.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have, when the corner comes, you certainly can't just rustle up a military to fight. Similarly, it's about journalists. Similarly, it's about media. So it is about strategic communication. It's about cyber. We may be becoming in economic parlance and military parlance the fourth largest, but to punch the weight as the fourth largest organization of the world, country as a world, we don't have the power to back it.
We don't have the power, or are we not thinking through this enough? See, there's this term called Shatru Bodh. The first thing is, one, we need to know who the enemy is. Then we need to be aware of what the enemy is doing. Third, we need to be always ready to counter the enemy or outthink the enemy. In this case, are we clear who the Shatru is? General Sahab, I'm asking you this question because हम पाकिस्तान में हो जाए वो थोड़ी शत्रु है,
वो हमारा शत्रु नहीं है,
बांग्लादेश थोड़ी शत्रु है,
Correct.
जो खेल खेल रहे हैं वो दो एंटिटीज हैं, एक चीन है और दूसरा अमेरिका है. दोनों these two nations are able to engage with these two entities and think that they are using them. But who's the real Shatru and where are we aligned? This strategic autonomy, non-alignment is all okay to say, but it's not an easy rope to walk. It's not easy when we don't have the wherewithal. We need allies. We need our own friends who are able and strong. So, do we have that Shatru Bodh?
Yeah, I don't think so. I just talking somewhere. We have a good boy syndrome, right? We are very good. It's all right. You must talk of it again. We must talk of it. But you can be only good boy when you have got all the weapons with you, with all the things to deal with the Shatru Bodh. There is a very beautiful thing of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar when he says, आप क्षमा के योग्य तब हैं. You can only give क्षमा when you are powerful. If you're not powerful, you are incapable. So to say that I'm not powerful and I'm giving क्षमा to you, is it's a joke.
No, and it's
Right.
it's time and again it's said, even from Mahabharata, Bhishma to Kautilya to even at that time even Vidura, Ram, at all points in time they said, only the strong will be spoken to. Now, Veer Bhogya Vasundhara is something which the Prime Minister has said. But where does it come from? That the strong will be negotiated. अगर आपको बैठ के बात करना है और कोई आपको शत्रु मानता है, that means you're strong. Right. And for that, you have to really be strong. तभी आप क्षमा कर सकते हो. तो क्षमा comes only from somebody who's got the ability to give क्षमा or strong enough to give, like you're saying. I'm not even getting into that. Sir, are we confusing ourselves from being good people and nice people? Krishna said very clearly, I'm a good guy, but I'm not a nice guy. I'm not going to be nice to those who are nasty to me. I'm going to be nasty to those who are nasty to me. But overall, I'm a good guy. I walk on the path of truth. I walk on the path of non-violence. But somebody tries to behead me, I'll behead him first. Are we clear on that?
No, we are not clear. Actually, we are quite sure that we are nice people, and this is how we see anywhere we want to project Indians as nice people, right? बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं, बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं, and that has gone into our mindset.
अच्छा is good.
No, we are very nice people, decent people. You know, you come and slap me. Mahatma Gandhi ne bola tha, we are non-violent people. You can slap us all over, and people have been slapping. You look at this way here, Anand. Bharat was not what Bharat is today. Bharat has shrunk from what it should have been because of this whole stupid idea of non-violence and the faith we have that non-violence got us our azadi. So, you know, you just started by saying something, you know, we have been signing off to being nice at the expense of others. So, it's good to be good, but you can be good. And being good is tougher.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are not allying with somebody. You're not taking powers of others to be your power. When you want to have strategic autonomy, you have to be far more capable. Leverages has to be with you. So this Atmanirbharta, your self-reliance, is one step to protect from external leverages and influences. But the fact is that we have to have more people out. That even if you don't want, let's say, like today, why do you think that Trump has allowed Britishers and the Germans that leverage to keep on going buying oil for a couple of more years? It is not about us trying to tell the world that Trump needs Nobel Prize. These countries have not given. But the fact is that there is some leverage we have to have.
Yeah. I'm just saying, why did Bharat not shut down all services that they provide to the Americans for 2 weeks? Why didn't all companies say, you don't behave with India, we shut down all services? They would have been paralyzed. सड़क पे आ जाते सबके सब. हमने दिखाया नहीं अभी तक. We have not said shut down all services, 2 हफ्ते की छुट्टी, कोई काम नहीं होगा आपका. They depend on us for services, no sir. हमने क्यों बंद नहीं किया सर? हमने क्यों उनकी खाट खड़ी नहीं की? हमने क्यों? Why haven't we sent the message which the Chinese have sent? Why have we said, okay, we'll just wait, we'll not respond? We should have said no services, done, forget it. कुछ नहीं मिलेगा तुमको, बंद. What? 2 हफ्ते, 3 हफ्ते का मुझे नुकसान झेला. I will take it for my country. Where is that entity? 3 weeks का छुट्टी है, चलो manage कर लेंगे.
So Anand,
why has that thought?
Why have we not nurtured this thought of Shatru Bodh in our country? We don't talk of it.
Well,
ठीक है. So when you say that 2 हफ्ते बंद कर देंगे, it is not the Americans who will cry. Unfortunately, our countrymen who are going to cry about it. Why? So the Chinese can do it and get away with it because there is a sense of Shatru Bodh which is taught, engaged, fed, and they are proud of being this thing. We are proud of being possibly everything else rather than being Bharati. Right?
Well, we'll pause there, viewers. It's an engaging conversation, and I think both of us are going to get a little emotionally strung, but we'll park that and we'll take this conversation into our next one very, very soon. Thank you, Jana Sahab. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.